Hello and welcome into Loftside Banter. We're here today to talk about Week 9 in the NFL. We'll go over the World Series and the Dodgers being back-to-back World Series champions. We'll look a little bit into the NBA and kind of see where everybody's kind of panned out for the first few weeks. And then from there, we'll have the anti-narrative segment back, and it's not necessarily a huge narrative right now because it just happened yesterday, but we're going to talk about the Falcons saying the Patriots illegally simulated a snap by clapping, which sounds like somebody who is a little bit upset that they lost the game. So we'll go in that. And again, I'll be defending the Patriots. Not that that's a stretch for me anyway, but having looked back at the film and everything else like that, we'll get into that. Again, that'll be the Patriots and the Falcons played in Foxborough yesterday. 24-23 win for the New England Patriots, who are now 7-2, still ahead in the AFC East, only because that they didn't have a bye week and Buffalo did. But this was one of those games that you're a little bit encouraged by because the Patriots struggled mightily in certain situations. They struggled with keeping the blitz off of Drake May. Drake May obviously had to run a little bit, and Drake May didn't have the greatest of games. So we've seen him, against a better opponent, come back to earth a little bit. And the people that want to bang on the drum in the easy schedule, oh my God, they had such an easy schedule. They're doing this, they're doing that against bad teams. I mean, the Browns had the top-rated defense last week, and he played excellent in the second half. He came out and made big plays after making some mistakes. Now, the offensive line didn't give him any help. The stunting and the blitzing and stuff from the Atlanta Falcons was great all day. They got him on the ground 6 times, and you can see May hold on to the ball too long in some cases, and in some cases get happy feet and try to just go. Those are the young things or the young player mistakes that he's making still, but they're not as prevalent, or they haven't been as prevalent against the opponents they've had this year. This was just a great game plan by the defense for the Atlanta Falcons. I will give them all the credit in the world. No Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots. Travion Henderson had the lead back role. Terrell Jennings kind of was the backup, and they played decently. Again, the run game for the Patriots is non-existent for the most part. I think they ran for a total of 110 yards, which is, again, okay. But Travion Henderson, 55 yards, Terrell Jennings, 35. So I think that's something that's going to be addressed before Tuesday. If Ramondre can come back and be healthy, to have those 3 guys and now DeForest Johnson, again, it's not something that's going to scare you from any opponent-wise, but I think it's something that needs to be addressed as long as they also try to look at a pass rush. That's the kind of idea that I look at. Pass rush wise, they had 1 sack from Kevon Chason early in the game, and that was it. So nothing past that. So those are the kind of areas I think they're going to address. I think the receivers have looked pretty well. Kayshon Boutte obviously left yesterday. Kyle Williams came in and was only targeted once, didn't have a catch. He, again, only has 2 catches for 20 yards this year. I wasn't a fan of him coming out of the draft. A lot of people liked him. I tried to back him, but I haven't seen anything that he's a game changer yet. Drake London on the other side was a game changer. 9 receptions, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. Most of it came off of switches in the defense, not necessarily up against Christian Gonzalez. He always had a big catch over Christian Gonzalez, who ended up leaving the game. It looked like Drake London landed on top of him. That seemed like what was kind of the issue. But Patriots move on to 7-2, like I mentioned. Baltimore on Thursday night, 28-6 over the Dolphins. Dolphins are a mess. They've just fired Chris Greer, their general manager. Their coach is the next one out the door at the end of the season. The Chargers 27-20 over the Titans. Chargers are 6-3. Titans are obviously 1-8. But closer game that you would expect. The wild game was the Chicago Bears winning 47-42 over the Cincinnati Bengals. And it looked like 40 points plus for both teams just shows where the defenses are, which is in horrendous shape. Joe Flacco looked pretty good through 2 interceptions. Not the thing you really want to see when you have all the weapons that you do. But again, he's always been a gunslinger. He's always been one of those guys that's probably going to give you 4 touchdowns, but an interception or 2. But with this defense, I mean, you can't turn the ball over at all. And then the Bears scored under a minute left to take the lead and eventually win the game. I think it was over 1,000 yards of total offense between the two of them. The 3 turnovers is what kills you for the Bengals. You gave the Bears a shot. That was the problem. Now, the Bears were up 41-27, and they gave up 2 touchdowns in a minute and a half, whatever it was. So, again, the Bears aren't really that much closer to being a great team, but to be able to play as well as they did offensively against a bad defensive team, that's what you wanted to see. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 27-20 over the Indianapolis Colts. So the Colts dropped to 7-2. I believe there are 3 teams in the AFC East at 7-2 that are tied really for that first place. And if I go look at the standings now, conference-wise, the Indianapolis Colts are still the number 1 overall team based upon, point differential and everything else like that. Denver is at 7-2. They follow. They're in 3rd place. The Patriots are in 2nd. So, and again, to be kind of in that 3-way tie or be in that, I mean, this is a lot better than what you would have thought for a New England team, but it is what it is. Pittsburgh, confusing as well. Played very well. Daniel Jones struggled a little bit trying to find, I just clicked on the wrong games, excuse me. 3 interceptions was obviously more of a Daniel Jones than what we're used to, obviously, than what we're seeing this year. They're still 7-2. If you're going to make that many mistakes as Daniel Jones has and turn the ball over, we saw the same thing with the Patriots against Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh took advantage of those things. Aaron Rodgers, again, 203 yards, 1 touchdown, nothing to write home about. Jaylen Warren scored 2 touchdowns. But, I mean, this team is... I'm just going to keep every week saying I don't know who the Pittsburgh Steelers are. They're at the top of their division, which is the positive thing, but they're 5-3. They'll lose games that they're not supposed to lose. They'll win games that they're not supposed to win. And it will be just kind of that up in the air. We don't know where they're going to do come playoff time. It's probably going to be the same as the last few years, but 34-24 win for the San Francisco 49ers over the New York Giants. They're 6-3. Again, I'm happy for Mac Jones and the way he's kind of played. He hasn't had to do much. 19-24 for, 235 yards. Jackson Dart, 24-33, 191 yards. Again, Jackson Dart is healthy. He didn't necessarily lose you the game, but he's played pretty well. I mean, those things are the things, as I said last week, you need to see from Jackson Dart at this point. Your season's over if you're the New York Giants. Your season's done. So, where does this team ultimately end up at the end of the year? Is probably a top 5, top 10 pick. And then from there, you're talking about, finding those other pieces. Jackson Dart's going to be your starter for the next couple of years. He's shown enough that he can be, considered an up-and-comer or considered the next franchise quarterback. I think that's all well and good. I think after this year, I think he's going to be still the starter. I don't think they're going to go out and try to find somebody else. I just think that this team has so many holes in it and so many injuries so far. They've shown the flashes that you need to see. You're going to have to struggle with them for another year. That's what's going to happen. You're going to struggle another year. You're probably going to struggle at the beginning of next year. It depends on what pieces you bring in. But with Jackson Dart right now, you'll have players excited to play with him. You're going to have to see results. So I think you're going to lose out on some free agents because, New York is still a great place to go play. Don't get me wrong. Whether it's with the Giants or the Jets, people want to still go play in New York. It's just now you have some pieces that players will go, well, maybe I'll go catch passes from Jackson Dart, or I'll go help Jackson Dart, be on his offensive line, or whatever the case may be. So there's excitement there. It's just you're going to have to struggle probably for this year and probably next year. It depends on what you bring in. It depends on how you draft. Denver Broncos, who I mentioned 7-2, 18-15 win over the Houston Texans. One of those games that was just kind of back and forth. Bo Nix, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. C.J. Stroud out with a concussion for most of that game. Davis Mills had to come in. So, again, their offense kind of stagnant after that. I mean, it wasn't really going a ton of places with C.J. Stroud. So, the next set of games, you had the Vikings 27-24 win over the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions have struggled a little bit. J.J. McCarthy looked great in returning from injury. Obviously, a few mistakes there. 14-25, not blowing the doors off there. Aaron Jones Sr. ran decently in 9 carries, had 78 yards. It wasn't a pretty win, but it was enough to get a win over a team that has shown that they can be in the upper echelon of that NFL. So 4-4 for the Minnesota Vikings. They're still in a race to make a playoff spot. Absolutely. The Detroit Lions have to clean some stuff up. I mean, obviously, they got to clean some stuff up. Same goes for the Green Bay Packers. They lost 16-13 to the Carolina Panthers, who were 5-4. Surprising for some. Bryce Young, 11-20, 1 interception, 102 yards. Not game-changing numbers. Jordan Love, on the other hand, 26-37, 273 yards, and an interception. So again, the defense played very well, and a defense that let up a lot of points to the Patriots not too long ago, and to the Bills last week. So now you come out and you play this well against the Green Bay Packers. They lost Tucker Kraft, it looks like, for the year with an ACL injury. You also had some guys fumbling. Defense did what they could to keep the game close and keep you in it. It was 13-13. It was a game-winning field goal. So, I mean, the Packers at 5-2-1 have issues still as well. That NFC North with the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, and the Bears in that position, kind of in that, it's a very competitive division. I thought the Lions and the Packers would separate themselves fairly quickly from the Vikings and the Bears, and yet here we still are. And again, looking at standings-wise, Packers still lead just because of that tie. You have the Detroit Lions technically in second place, the Bears technically in third place, and the Minnesota Vikings at 4-4. So again, top to bottom, you're within a game or two. And the two bottom teams won this week. $30-29 win for the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders. A 68-yard field goal by Cam Little, which is now the NFL record for a field goal. Remember, he hit a 70-yard in preseason. Now, anything past 50, he wasn't great over the last couple of weeks, but he hit this one today. Obviously, that 3 points gives you the win. This was an overtime win for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were 5-3. Raiders are 2-6, are going nowhere but down. New Orleans Saints 1-8 because they lost to the Los Angeles Rams, 34-10. Tyler Shaw. I'm going to have to figure out how to say his name. I'm just going to keep saying Shaw until somebody corrects me. Let's see. He was at 176 yards on 15-24 passing, touchdown and interception. Again, not first full start. Again, doesn't look great, but also, what do you expect at this point with the team that's kind of around him, The game of the week was the Buffalo Bills at home, and they won 28-21, which is their 5th straight win over the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season. Patrick Mahomes, 1 interception, no touchdown passes. Josh Allen, 23 of 26, looked great. Then they were able to hold him off. So the Bills are 6-2, technically in second place in the AFC East. The Chiefs fall to 5-4. Now the Chiefs have won the 4 straight in the playoffs over the Bills. So that's where we're going to try to take a look. We're going to have to take a look at that game at that point in time, because we're talking about teams that can be dominant in a regular season, which we've seen the Buffalo Bills do over the last 3 or 4 years, and then lose to the same team 3 or 4 years in a row. So what's going to happen in the playoffs? Again, I don't think the Chiefs are the same team that they have been. I believe the Bills are probably better built than they were even last year. They've lost a couple of games, obviously, one to the Patriots, one to the Atlanta Falcons, who we just saw give the Patriots everything that they could. So I don't think they're two losses that you're looking at and you're going, I mean, they lost to bad teams, they lost to this, and that. They haven't. They've lost to good teams so far. And then the Sunday night game last night, the Seattle Seahawks are at 6-2, won 38-14, and we saw Jaden Daniels go down with another injury. This one dislocating his elbow, which looked horrific. Jaden Daniels is my starting quarterback on my fantasy team. I would assume he's probably done for the year. The Washington Commanders are 3-6. They have a lot of holes on that team, a lot more than what we saw last year. So, if I were them, I rest Jaden Daniels. By the way, CJ Stroud's my backup. I am in quarterback hell at this point in time going forward. So CJ Stroud we'll have to see, but Jaden Daniels, I'm assuming, is probably done for the year. A lot more holes in the Commanders team than we saw last year, and they're being exposed. They didn't have any sacks last year, this past week. You know, their secondary gives up a lot. Their running game hasn't been the greatest. So there'll be some major changes probably on that team. Dan Quinn's job safe, I would assume. Seattle scored 24 points in the second quarter. Their defense hasn't been great. I'm sorry, the Commanders' defense, obviously hasn't been great. Seattle's looked pretty good. And Sam Darnold has looked pretty good for the last few years. He did throw an interception, again, 4 touchdowns, 21 of 24, 330 yards. So, I mean, he was, 13 and a half yards per attempt or per completion. I mean, Sam Darnold's in a good spot. And this team has been in a good spot, the Seattle team. I think they're going to make some noise playoff time. So we'll see how their season continues and everything else like that. But everybody's looked pretty good. Or at least the teams that have been winning looked pretty good. And again, looking at teams like the Patriots and the Packers and the Lions and stuff like that, the Patriots need to be tested. They have Tampa Bay coming up, which is going to be a huge test. And I'm not expecting a win at that one at all. So we'll have to see what happens. But good for them to get a test. Good for them to be able to pass that test, even winning by 1. And again, a missed extra point is, sometimes those things happen. And, is it a double agent type of move? I read that on ESPN today that Parker Roma was on the Patriots throughout the preseason and lost a job to Andrew Borregales. So, it's interesting how things work out. And I understand how people feel about Patriots fans getting loud and being obnoxious again and saying how we have this team, or we haven't played anybody, or that doesn't matter, or this, that, and a third, whatever. You have to remember, before the Patriots had a 20-year run, they were also very bad for a long time. A couple of, 86, 96, you go to the Super Bowl, you lose. You have a couple of playoff runs. So Patriots fans are going to step up. And again, they've done it the right way. They've gone out and they've sucked for a couple of years. They drafted well once with their quarterback. They chose the right one. Jaden Daniels and injuries and stuff like that, that's going to happen. He's that mobile quarterback that does stuff like that. Trying to run around, doesn't have the greatest protection of all time. And that's the thing that worries me about Drake May, is he's been sacked the most in the AFC. I think behind one, I think Tennessee is the only team that has more sacks allowed than the Patriots. So that offensive line has still got to get better. It's still got to get better. There's still rumors that Will Campbell may be moved to guard at some point. The idea that Drake May has done better at decision making outside of the one pass that just seemed to go to nobody, the interception that he had. The fumble that he had at the end of the first half wasn't necessarily all his fault. Again, he wasn't protecting the ball very well. But the happy feet and the holding the ball too long is something that he's still doing, and not with the greatest of offensive lines. Will Campbell, I think, can be a left tackle, absolutely. I don't think they're going to move him to guard. I think they're going to keep him getting better and better and better, and he's looked good in a lot of situations where he's not going after Myles Garrett, and I don't think he really allowed too much last this past game. I'd have to take a look again, but we're talking about a team that is way ahead of where they're supposed to be. Way ahead. Does that mean they're not going to come back down to earth? No. Does that mean they're going to go into next year and be great? No. There are a lot of moves that still need to be made. And a lot of moves, you still have all this money. You're still going to be able to go out to get the things that you want. But still wait and see. Patriots Nation, I'm begging you. You got to wait and see still. It's exciting. It's exciting to see another quarterback come in, and it seems like over the top 3 during that draft, they picked the right one. So it's exciting. Wait a second. Keep waiting. Major League Baseball, we had a World Series, apparently, right? So in the World Series, I believe it was Toronto went up 1 game to none. Then they were down 2-1. They tied it 2-2. They went up 3 games to 2. There was a situation where the ball was lost in the wall. It got stuck in the wall, and it helped the Dodgers win Game 6, go into Game 7. Toronto was up 3-1, then 4-2, and then they lost it. They brought in Trey Savage, who had pitched well. He gave up a home run that made it 4-3. And then a guy in the bottom of the ninth hit a home run. I'm trying to see the game and the statistics here, so that way I can give you the name. Where'd it go? Miguel Rojas? Yeah. Tied it in the bottom of the ninth. In the top of the ninth. And then in the 11th, Will Smith. The guy, so the names that helped you win. So let's look at the 8th, 9th, and 11th inning. What was it? Max Muncy hits the home run to bring it to 4-3 against Savage. Let me bring up the actual box score here. Yeah, Max Muncy had 19 home runs in the regular season, so again, not necessarily the hugest home run hitter, but hit one anyway, to bring it to 4-3. Miguel Rojas had 7 home runs all year, was basically a backup second baseman, hits your game tying in the 9th, and then Will Smith, who bats second behind Ohtani, he hits your home run to bring you up 5-4 in the 11th inning. And then Shane Bieber is the guy that kind of gave up the home run at the end there. He used to be a starting pitcher from everything that I see. Did he start this year? Yeah, he started 7 games this year. He started 4 games in the postseason, so he was still a starting pitcher. And again, when you come to a Game 7 in any series, you're throwing out everybody. But Ohtani gave up 3 runs and 2 1/3. Then Tyler Glasnow gave up a run. And then everybody kind of shut him out from there, including Emmett Sheehan, went to Boston College. Great job. It's one of those things that you had your young kid for Toronto come in, give up a run in an inning and 2/3. You had your closer, Jeff Hoffman, give up. That's your typical closer. He blew the save, gave up a home run. And then Shane Bieber, who's one of your starters, comes in and gives up the home run. So these are what good teams like the Dodgers do. They find ways to win. It's just not the names that we thought it would be, right? It's not the names that we thought it would be. It's not Ohtani. It's not Freddie Freeman. Now, Freddie Freeman did quite a bit. Well, it's not Mookie Betts. It's Will Smith, Max Muncy, and Miguel Rojas were the 3 guys, were the heroes for the Dodgers to win back-to-back World Series. Toronto gave them everything. I give Toronto every bit of credit because even going into the playoffs, the way they were struggling, I didn't really think they were going to make a run. They made a great run, and they were so close. And I would love to have seen it because it's been 30-plus years. But this is what teams like the Dodgers do. They find ways to win in those situations. So I have to give them all the credit in the world. The Dodgers are going to be right back there again next year. Toronto, I don't think, is going anywhere. Now, we've seen teams up and down in baseball all the time, struggle through stretches and everything else like that. It really depends on when you go on a run. It really depends on the players that you have and the options that you make kind of at that deadline to push yourself into that position. But as of right now, those are the teams you're probably still looking at next year. I'm not saying it's going to be a repeat of this World Series, but, the Dodgers are going to be around. Toronto's going to be around at that point. What the Red Sox are going to do, what the Yankees are going to do, what all the teams that are normally in the mix are going to do, is going to make the difference. Switching gears, looking at the NBA. Early on in the season, every team's about 6 or 7 games in, or maybe one has 8, something like that. Eastern Conference, 76ers at 5-1. Chicago Bulls are 5-1, which is not a team that I thought would be anywhere close to the top of the Eastern Conference standings, maybe after the first week. And yet, here we are. Milwaukee Bucks, Detroit Pistons, Cavaliers, and Miami Heat are your top 6 teams. You have the Knicks at 3-3, the Raptors at 3-4, the Atlanta Hawks at 3-4, and the Atlanta Magic at 3-4. And then you have the Boston Celtics, who are in 11th place. So they're right outside that playoff. And again, we're talking about 7 games into the season. The Celtics have struggled against good teams, obviously, but they've also beaten good teams. They've beaten the 76ers at least once. They obviously just got decimated by the Rockets by 27 points. They have the Jazz tonight, which is one of those teams that I think they can absolutely beat, but they lost to, let's see who they lost to. They beat the Cavaliers, the Pelicans, and the 76ers. So they beat 2 good teams in their 3 wins. The Pelicans I wouldn't consider a good team. Western Conference, you have the Thunder at 7-0, not surprising. Spurs a little surprising at 5-1. Lakers 5-2. Portland Trailblazers are 4-2, which is not something I thought they would. I thought they would be probably over to start the season, especially with all the stuff hanging over their head. Clippers and Nuggets are your top 6. The Rockets are 3-2. They've only played 5 games. Warriors, Timberwolves, and Grizzlies round out your top 10, and then the bottom is kind of the Kings should be better than where they are. I think they're going to probably blow up the team if they continue like this. Jazz are 2-4. Dallas Mavericks are 2-4. And then the Pelicans are 0-6. Obviously not a good team. So that's where you're kind of at early on in the season. Surprises-wise, as far as statistics, I mean, Giannis leads the league in points, 34.2 points per game. Tyrese Maxey is at 33.7. SGA is at 33.6. Lauri Markkanen, 33 points a game. Playing very, very well, even though the Jazz are not. Defensively, Jokic leads the league with 14 rebounds a game. Wemby leads the league with 4.7 blocks per game. Jokic also leads the league with 10.8 points, 10.8 assists per game. And then Austin Reeves is at 31.1 points per game. Austin Reeves. And that's kind of helping the Lakers get to that 5-2 start where LeBron hasn't been playing. That's kind of where the season has started with. Again, a lot of things are going to change. It's just been 7 games. But the Thunder are exactly where we thought they'd be. The 76ers are playing better than I thought they would now. VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey have done most of the heavy lifting for that team. Joel Embiid is still kind of kicking around there. Chicago Bulls are probably the most surprising team right now. Let's see. And now we'll kind of switch gears back to the NFL. And, wardrobe change, everything else like that. Obviously recorded in 2 different days. A little peek behind the curtain for you guys. But we just had the NFL trade deadline, and some of the big moves here were the Jets were sellers, all outright sellers. They traded Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts for 2 first-round picks, and Adonai Mitchell, I believe. Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver for the Colts. They're obviously looking to get a lot of salary off, get a lot of assets and everything else like that. They actually made a trade to get a cornerback, Josiah Tyler, for a conditional 7th-round pick. So, Josiah Tyler was a 6th-round pick in 2022, has 8 tackles this year. And doesn't really move the needle, gives them some depth at cornerback and stuff like that. One of the other moves that was made was the Saints traded offensive tackle Trevor Panning to the Chargers. Now, the Chargers are always going to be a running team under Jim Harbaugh, so needing some protection there, making sure that, I want to say Trevor Lawrence, but it's not Trevor, Justin Herbert. There we go. I'll get there eventually. For a 6th-round pick in 2027. Some of the other trades of note, the Jets also traded Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys for Maisie Smith, a 2026 second-round pick and a 2027 first-round pick. It's really not a great trade. And you can go listen to experts and everything else like that other than myself. You're getting a 28-year-old defensive tackle on a salary-heavy contract in a year when you're 3-5-1, which doesn't make sense. You've just mortgaged a player that is 24, former first-round pick out of Michigan, a second-round pick next year, or it may be this upcoming year, and a 2027 first-round pick. So you've mortgaged a future for what has basically boiled down to, I believe the Football Power Index on ESPN has a 7% chance of making the playoffs. What I think happened is that your de facto GM, your owner, Jerry Jones, opened his mouth again and promised trades and everything else like that. Their defense, the Cowboys' defense is horrible. It's, I want to say historically bad, but I don't think it's even worse than the Bengals right now. So it's interesting to me that I think he opened his mouth and made some things happen. Great. He was able to make some trades, and hopefully it seems as if he's giving up the farm for things he's going to throw against the wall and hope that they stick. So I'm just shocked at the fact that we're still sitting here and going, hey, Jerry, you're still the GM at 81 years old, or however old he is now, and you're doing a great job. You're not, because you haven't won since 1996 or whatever it is. Haven't won a Super Bowl. So here we sit again with what looks like a huge mistake by Jerry Jones again. Quinnen Williams has 1 sack this year. I think they're going to pay him over $21 million. It's unreal to say that Jerry Jones still knows what's the best interest of the team. He's at the forefront of the news saying, oh, I'm going to make a trade tomorrow. Oh, Monday Night Football, I'm going to make a trade tomorrow. Oh, let me sit on the panel and talk to you. I'm going to make a trade tomorrow. I can't tell you what it is, but I'm going to make a trade. It's horrible. Horrible. Moving on from the disaster that the Cowboys have put themselves in yet again. Raiders trade Jacoby Myers to the Jaguars. Okay, huge prices have been paid. A 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick was the going rate for Jacoby Myers, who is on 352 yards receiving this year. Granted, on the Raiders, no touchdowns. That's tied, yardage-wise, he's tied 58th. Receptions-wise, he's tied for 42nd in the league. High prices being paid. The Bengals got the other Cowboys trade. I'm going to go really quick back to this. Logan Wilson goes to the Cowboys linebacker for a 2026 7th-round pick. All right, that one makes a little bit of sense. Logan Wilson had been dropped down the pecking order. He was the captain on this team. But again, for a guy that was being dropped from the lineup on a bad defensive team, you can kind of see where that, he's trying to do something about this run defense. Again, all right, I can get behind that one. That's a guy that's still in a pretty good area as far as his career is concerned. I'm going to look up his age really quick, but he's 29. So, I mean, he's still got a few good years left. All right, he gives you a solid backing in your linebacker core for a 7th-round pick. Fine, whatever. Going back to Jacoby Myers, I mean, it's a good option to have. The Jaguars opened the season with Brian Thomas Jr., who has dropped passes here, left and right all year long. Travis Hunter's on the IR right now. He should be back. They've said in a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks, maybe at the long term. Okay, the Jaguars are in a decent spot as far as where they are at 5-3, because at 5-3, that puts them in second place, 2 games back of the Colts in the division. And then the rest of the division is the Houston Texans, who are 3-5 and have injury issues. The Titans are 1-8. They're not going anywhere. The thing that the Jaguars need to accomplish is get that wild card spot. If we were looking at the playoffs right now, the Indianapolis Colts win the tiebreak over New England and Denver based on the best winning percentage in conference games. The Patriots are second, wins tiebreak over Denver based on strength of victory. Listen, I don't know. But the Jaguars are in 7th place. The teams above them are the 6-3 Chargers, who still play the Chiefs again, still have some tough competition out there in the West, comparative to the Jaguars, who are probably not going to catch the Colts. At least from what I've seen, they don't look likely to do so. So they're looking at a wild card spot. The Bills are 6-2 in 5th place. They're obviously just a half game back of the Patriots right now. So they still have to play one more time. But it's, I believe, in New England. I think the move helps with the injuries and helps give Trevor Lawrence some weapons. The problem is Trevor Lawrence making the mistakes that he normally does in games. He'll go out and have a great game. The next game, he'll go out and throw 2 interceptions and look like he's a little bit lost. But they're 5-3. They're 1-0 in the division. They still got plenty of games to play. I'm looking at the strength of schedule right now. The Patriots have the worst one in the league, or the worst winning percentage by any team for their schedule. So that is going to get me into my next point. And we'll spend some time on this, but we'll call this the anti-narrative segment. Because after the game on Sunday, Raheem Morris came out, and the Atlanta Falcons are 3-5, 13th in the NFC, and said that there was one particular play, and that play was when Michael Penix threw the ball into the ground. He got the snap. He looked a little surprised to get the snap. Threw the ball into the ground and got an intentional grounding, which the penalty is a 10-yard penalty and a loss of down. So they don't repeat 2nd down, 3rd down, whatever it is. It moves on to the next one. And I believe it made it 3rd and 20 or something of the sort. And the next pass was incomplete and they were out of field goal range, which they punted with 2 minutes left to try to get the ball back. Again, they had timeouts, and the complete situation escapes me all that. But the focus was the ball was snapped, it looked like early, was an intentional grounding penalty, and took you out of field goal range, down by 1 point late in the 4th quarter. E. Morris says that the Patriots were simulating the snap, which is against the rules. And it's been called every once in a while and stuff like that. And the thing that Michael Penix came out and said was, when I clap, I want the ball. Thing that I've noticed with quarterbacks coming out of college is that the clapping motion that you see in college football is basically the cadence. Give me the ball. Clap, clap, clap. Whatever the sequence is, whatever. John Gruden, who does the QB camps and stuff like that, has asked some guys that are coming out to give him an example of the cadence, right? To give him an example of the cadence, and that cadence is, that's it. So I understand that it's not necessarily taught as much as it used to do a proper cadence or proper play calling or anything else like that. And that's kind of how the game is moved. Fine. I argued the fact the day after that there was no clapping. You go back and you watch the video, and we've seen it probably a few hundred times by this point, is that Jalen Hawkins claps once, I think. Claps once and points to the ground. Now, I'm trying to, the way that they break it up and they zoom into him and stuff like that is interesting because of the timing. When is the timing of the clap and everything else like that? Well, when they zoom out and look at the whole thing, it's him doing it once, kind of moving towards the line of scrimmage, and that's it. I have 2 problems with this. The first problem is if Jalen Hawkins clapped, he is 15 yards in the opposite direction in a 50,000 person stadium, 50,000 give or take, 60,000 person stadium, 15 yards in the wrong direction of the quarterback. And then from there, he's got gloves on. To me, it's really difficult to understand. Listen, Gillette Stadium rocks from time to time. Not all the time. it can be a quiet stadium from time to time. I'm not the biggest yeller at a game. When it's third down, people get up. When there's a good play, you hear a good roar, clapping and stuff like that. But for a 60,000 person stadium with gloves on and 15 yards in the wrong direction, it's hard for me to imagine that the center thought that the quarterback was clapping. I don't at all believe that. So for Raheem Morris to say that, oh, the Patriots were cheating again, which this is how you know the Patriots are back. We're being targeted for cheating again. And I'm not going to go into Spygate. I'm not going to go into any of that stuff. I'm not going to do it. You want to come out and give comments about how the Patriots, it was definitely clap. It's definitely good for you. But here's the second part of this. Teach your quarterback a proper cadence. Teach him how to run signals and everything else like that. Don't teach him to clap. Because when he claps, everybody knows what's going on. They asked Milton Williams, oh, did you hear clapping? No, I saw the ball move and I went after it. And he was in his face when he threw the ball into the ground. What was intentional? Oh, Kyle Pitts was right there. But he had just started his route. He had just started off the line because the ball was snapped too early. So if anything, you should go back and go, hey, that's a false start. Before anything else. The play should be dead at that point. And I'm getting angry at this because I'm sick of people going after this team and people going after them. I grew up watching the Patriots on numerous occasions suck. They went 1-15, they went 2-14, they went, 6-10 years, all this stuff. And to finally have an opportunity to see the football team that I grew up watching win Super Bowls and do a lot of winning. I'm very lucky at the fact that I've watched the New England Patriots win as much as they have. But don't come to me and tell me, oh, they clapped, that's a cheating. Your team screwed up. Or more amply, for all of you that get to this point in this thing, they fucked up. What is exactly what happened. They screwed up, they fucked up the cadence. It should have been a false start to begin with. But you know what? They let the play continue, and your quarterback made a bonehead move. I understand. If Milton Williams running at me full speed, I would throw the ball onto the ground too. But don't sit here and tell me that, oh, they cheated. No. From what you see in the footage, you're just complaining that you lost by 1 point. You had a kicker that didn't hit an extra point. Sorry, Parker Romo. But I thought you probably should have won the job over Andrew Borregales at the beginning of the season. I'll be the first one to admit it. You didn't. They cut you. You went to Atlanta. You have missed a few field goals, and you missed an extra point to tie the game. It happens. That's what you get paid to do, and you didn't do it. So, again, I'm not going after Parker Romo. I'm going after Raheem Morris, who cannot teach his quarterback how to do a proper cadence. Oh, well, we got confused because there was clapping on the other side. 15 yards away, with gloves on, with 60,000 people in the stands. He got confused. So teach him something other than clapping. Teach him something different than clapping his hands. It's a joke to me. You have $1 million athletes, and this is what they're comfortable with clapping. They're comfortable with clapping. Okay, well then don't come to us and don't go in front of the media and say they cheated, they simulated the snap because they clapped when that's what my quarterback does is clap. Shut up. Shut up and go back to your 3-5 team. Go back to being a part of a franchise that loses a Super Bowl up 28-3. Don't come to me and don't say in front of the media that, they cheated. Be a better coach. And look, I'm not somebody that's going to sit here and tell you that I know better. If somebody comes to me and says, my quarterback is comfortable with clapping, I'm probably going to say okay. Because for me to teach that or teach a cadence, I have a Pop Warner level of what a cadence could be. Right? Great. Awesome. But you know something? Don't go in front of the media and start blaming. I respect Mike Vrabel, but I can't get behind that. I can't get behind. Well, then don't worry about it. You're not part of the Patriots organization. You're just the last team that lost to them. You were probably not getting the job. Bill Belichick looked like he was going to get the Atlanta Falcons job. And then whatever happened from there with Arthur Blank and Robert Kraft, again, not something I'm going to go into because I don't know all the information. But I'm sick of the Patriots cheated, the Patriots cheated, the Patriots cheated. I can sit here and tell you that all the other times of all the other things that have come up, every other team was doing it, and we've had coaches admit it. That's not the case. The case was the Patriots got caught in those things. Fine. They were punished, they paid the punishment, and they still kept on winning. It's the same thing with Michigan football. They were caught with something, and whatever it is, here we are. We're now past it. They still won. They still went on to win a national championship. I'm not saying the Patriots are going to go on and win the Super Bowl. I'm not. Because I don't think they are. I think the trade deadline where the Patriots made no moves other than picking up Brandon Rice, Jerry Rice's son, that should count for something, right? Didn't with the Chargers, so let's just wait and see. To stand pat and to do nothing, I'm okay with that. Because you're going to go into the offseason with the most amount of money. You're going to have a plethora of draft picks. You've got more salary off the books. You're going to be able to go out and sign players that you want rather than keep guys around that weren't going to play. Now, Keon White, I still think had potential to work in this system. Kyle Duggar, again, they paid him a lot of money a few years ago, and he just didn't fit this. It doesn't mean they're bad players. It doesn't mean that they're not capable. I think Vrabel and his staff want to put the players they want into place. And we'll see if it works. If it doesn't, obviously, Mike Vrabel has to answer for that. But I'm okay with no move. Now, as a fan, as somebody that wants to get excited about things, you're 7-2. You're in the upper echelon of the NFL as far as record. You were tied for the best record in the NFL. A three-way tie, but you're tied nonetheless. You haven't had a tough schedule. I understand that as well. You have a test with the Buccaneers coming up, and if you go out and you beat the Buccaneers, you didn't need to make a move anyway. But as a fan, at a 7-2 record, being second place in the AFC and tied for the best record in the NFL, yeah, I wanted to see a move. I wanted to see them do something to get me excited. Hey, you know what? They need a little bit better pass rush. They went out and got somebody. Hey, we could use a running back. We didn't go out and get. But I think that's okay. You kept your resources, and you're going to use them in the offseason. Now, the track record over the last 5 years or so, granted under different regimes, isn't great with drafting, and it certainly wasn't great at picking up free agents. One here, an offset here, Drake May there. Okay, fine. But you got to show me if you're going to handle it this way and basically say, hey, we're going to roll with what we got, and we're not going to rock the boat. We're going to see where we stand with the current roster in place. Fine. Did I think if they continued to win that this was going to be, anything different, or they were going to go into the playoffs and beat some teams and stuff like that? Yeah, I think they're quite capable of making a run. I don't think they're going to. I think they're still a year away. And I've settled on that hill. I haven't changed my mind. But 6 wins in a row. You had a tough time against a tough defensive team. You wore out the number one defense of the Browns defense a week earlier to have a great second half. Right? But you have the Buccaneers in Tampa this upcoming Sunday. That's a great test. Another 6-2 team, NFC team that has great weapons and everything else like that. I think they might be coming off a bye. Double check here. Let's see if the Bucs are coming off, so I can give you the proper information. Yeah, I believe they're coming off their bye week after beating the Saints, but it's a good litmus test for you, where you are right now. So all the Patriots fans and everything else like that want to jump on the bandwagon and are so disappointed that their team didn't make a move at the end for the trade deadline, I hear you. I do. But let's just wait and see. Right? Let's wait and see. They haven't been good at drafting. You're right. They haven't been good at picking up quality free agents. You're right. This year looks a little different. The guys they picked up, Harold Landry has looked pretty good. Milton Williams has looked great. Moses, the right tackle, has looked okay, has had his moments, but has brought veteran leadership to that. Garrett Bradbury has looked okay. Mac Hollins has been a big part of this wide receiver room that we thought was still going to struggle, and they've looked okay. Carlton Davis has struggled at times at being the number 2 cornerback, but okay, he's done what he can. And then you look at the draft, Will Campbell. I still hear the Will Campbell to the guard position. And maybe that's the way they go, but he's been a pretty good left tackle against people not named Myles Garrett, which is, as I said earlier in the show, nobody looks good against Myles Garrett. Travion Henderson had a chance to start. Looked a little better. Still coming along. Kyle Williams, your third-round pick, has been absent. Okay, he's not really up on the depth chart, but Kayshon Boutte's probably out this week. He's probably going to get a few more reps. Let's see what he can do. Again, wasn't a big fan of him coming out of the draft. Said that also earlier in the show. Not going to take a victory lap on him quite yet. Jared Wilson, you moved to guard, has looked pretty good. Craig Woodson has started from day one, and that's your fourth-round safety selection out of California. He's looked pretty good. He's made a few mistakes, but again, young kid. Joshua Farmer has played significant minutes at your defensive tackle. Braden Swinson's on your practice squad. That's the one that still confuses me because a lot of people love that draft pick, and he just hasn't gotten himself off the practice squad yet. Time will tell. Sixth-round pick was Borgalis, has come around, has done pretty well, won you a football game. Marcus Bryant has surprised a lot of people. Depth-wise, on your roster, Julian Ashbury, your long snapper, has been your long snapper all year. Great. That was the position that you needed. Not necessarily, I don't think you needed to pick him in the 7th round. That, again, ancient history at this point. And Kobe Meyer. Kobe Meyer has been called up a couple of times on the practice squad. You've had a pretty good draft. So let's put that faith into next year. Every year is obviously different. Next draft is, I've heard, very, very deep. So let's wait on the trade deadline. They kept everything. They still have the money to go out and get the players that they want. And it depends on who's available. But you can't sit here and tell me, hey, this anti-narrative segment, don't come out and say that they cheated when you can't even teach your quarterback to a proper cadence. If he's going to clap his hands, then you're going to run into that problem. The center's going to hear the guy in the front row next time, and he made a boneheaded play. Next, let's pump the brakes on being upset about the trade deadline. Every fan wants them to make a move. Every fan wants a splash, including myself. But the prices were very high for a lot of these teams. Sauce Gardner cost 2 first-round draft picks and a wide receiver that you drafted fairly high and might have been a first-round draft pick. Because now I'm going to go find out. They play the Jets this year? No. Let's go to the Jets. Let's see. Adonai Mitchell, probably going to be a starter. Oh, he was a second-round pick, 52nd overall in 2024. Pretty high price for Sauce Gardner. And I wasn't thrilled with Sauce Gardner to begin with. I thought he played very well his first year. I thought teams kind of came around, and being on a bad team over the last couple of years, I get it. He's kind of fizzled. Doesn't mean he's terrible, but, you know, you look at these teams and what they paid for some of these guys, and it was a lot. So again, let's just wait. Let's go through this offseason and see what happens. So with that said, we're now probably right around the hour mark of the two pieces pieced together. I have some exciting stuff that's coming up with Loftside, and I'm not going to say anything quite yet because we're working on it. There is always something out there with me in trying to get this to be bigger and better. I have kind of kept it as it's been kept quite stagnant for a little while. And the simply reason is because I want to make the right moves. I didn't want to say I haven't gained followers or I haven't whatever in a month. Let's panic and switch stuff up. I've tried to allow things to happen. I've tried to really think about the direction in which I want this to go. Loftside Creative Media is going to eventually have more to it. I didn't want to overload my plate. I've done that quite a bit already with this, and I don't want to lose sight on what I want it to be. So there are things that are going to happen. There are things that are going to make the show better and hopefully be able to have a lot of newer interviews and everything else like that coming up. It won't just be me talking. I'll give you that. It won't just be me talking forever. There'll be other things to it. Studio-wise, I think we're probably going to keep it right where we're at for right now. But I've put a lot of time into this. I've put a lot of resources into this, more than I probably should have to start off with. But we're going to take this slowly, unless we want to get an investment from somebody out there. But until that time comes, I will do what I can. I would love to have fans on there. We're gonna start talking to the sports card memorabilia market and everything else like that, and include that into this. And one of the other things you'll see on the YouTube is I do live stream gaming and stuff like that, here and there, and you'll see that up on the thing. It was just a live stream, and I find that I can't take it off of YouTube, and maybe it's just my lack of understanding with that. But it was just a live stream. You'll see him every so often. It's fun. It's fun for me. Let's just put it that way. Doesn't necessarily fit the sports genre, but Loftside was going to be gaming and podcasting kind of, meeting together as it was anyway. And then all these other niche podcasts that we want to do. So that's kind of where we're directing this, or where I'm directing this for right now. So I appreciate, again, the support. Views have been pretty good. I would love to see some followers added on. I would love to see some stuff like that. But I appreciate the comments that come in and everything else. Loftside Banter, and that's BANTR. So Loftside, BANTR @gmail.com is the email address. And then loftsidebanter.com. That's where you can find all the stuff. And I thank you very much for being here, and we'll see you for the next show.